Good morning, class. Here's Pre-Calculus, Module 1, covering chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 1, Functions. Chapter 2, Linear Functions. I want to pay attention to this when you start the exam. Before starting the exam, please read the following pledge aloud. I pledge on my honor that I will neither give nor receive unauthorized assistance during this exam or any other exam. Unauthorized actions include but are not limited to the use of notes, text, graphing calculators, search engines, PowerPoints, or any other resources not explicitly allowed. I can't emphasize this enough. You can use only a scientific calculator for specific parts of the course. You may use a graphing calculator, and I mentioned it as becoming things. In the meantime, let's start with the first chapter, functions, also complex numbers and quadratic functions. So chapter 1, functions. Answer the following. Find the distance between these 2 points. Two pairs, x comma y, are given. One of them is -5, -6. The other one is 4, 2. And we are to find the distance between the two and then find the coordinates of the midpoint of the line segment that joins the two given points. So what is the distance? So you have a point in general having coordinates x of 1 and y sub 1. And the second one having coordinates x of 2 and y sub 2. And if you go to the x-axis, this is x1, this is x2. This distance is x of 2 minus x of 1, or x of 1 minus x of 2. It depends which one is larger. That's why they put it in absolute value. This distance is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, or the absolute value of that. So as you can see, Pythagorean theorem applies. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We just actually write that, and then I'm going to erase it. So let's say A, let's say B, let's say C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So if you want the C, is the square root of the other ones. Therefore, the distance becomes, this is D, square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. And it doesn't matter which one you write first, because when you square them, they become the same. So with that being the case, so we are going to look at these two. So 4 minus 5, that means 4 plus 5 quantity squared, plus 2 minus 6, that means 2 plus 6 quantity squared. This is 9 squared, you get 81. This is 8 squared, you get 64. Sum them up, 145. So the square root of 145 exact that's an exact answer, everybody. And this is an approximation. As far as the approximation is concerned, if they ask you for an approximation, you give it to them, otherwise you won't. Okay, so I hope everybody is clear on that. And when they ask for approximation, normally they ask you for how many decimals, then you want to follow that accordingly. Now, the next thing is to find the midpoint. So what's a midpoint? If you have, again, the same situation, you have two pairs, right in between is the midpoint. And we are saying the coordinates for the midpoint, add up the x coordinates, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. For the y, add up the y coordinates, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Let's quickly see why it works out that way. If you draw a line here parallel to x-axis, here parallel to the y-axis, okay, and from the midpoint you drop a perpendicular or parallel to the y-axis again, you come up with this shape. Contains, let me erase my word, two triangles, the small one and the large one. The small one and the large one are similar. So triangles, this is the sign for triangle, as well as delta. ABC, the big one, and triangle CDE, the small one, are similar. Basically, one easy way to prove that, because all angles are equal. This one is in common. This one is 90 degrees, so is this one, and that one means the third one must be. Or if you see two sides are parallel, that makes them similar. Therefore, you can say you can pick a side from the small one, for example, CD, and then compare it to the side from the big one, BC, and then it's equal to CE over AC. Now, why are we picking this one? Remember, D is the midpoint. That means CD is the same as BD as far as the distance is concerned. So CD is half of BC, cross product. AC is 2CE. If AC is CE times 2, that means AE and CE must be. So what is AE? Let me erase all and show you something. This point has the x coordinate x sub 2. And so AE is x sub 2 from here to here is x sub 2 minus the x coordinate of E. The x coordinate of E is the same as D, which is x of the midpoint. And so this one is x sub 1. So AE is x sub 2 minus x sub m. CE, this distance, is x sub m minus x sub 1. I hope you see what happens here. And so I can move this one this way. I get plus x sub m, and I move this one this way, plus x sub 1. On the right side, I have 2x sub m, and x sub m becomes half of the sum of the other two. So that's a proof, believe it or not. We are going to erase my work, and therefore, what is the midpoint for these two? Add up the x coordinates, minus 5 and 4 divided by 2. Add up the y coordinates, minus 6 and 2 divided by 2. This becomes negative 1 half. This becomes negative 4 halves, which is negative 2. And so that's the bottom line. Pretty straightforward. All right. Let's look at this example. A man drove 10 miles directly east. So starting from here, we're going to go to the east 10 miles. That means going to the right side. From his home, made a left turn. So as we go this way, left would be this at an intersection, and then traveled 5 miles north to his place of work. So we are going to go 10 miles east, 5 miles north. If a road was made directly from his home to his place of work, what would its distance be to the nearest 10th? So we're going to go this way 10 miles. We're going to go up, but we want to know what is this distance if we could go directly. Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 10 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. This is 100. This is 25. They add up to 125. So c is square root of 125. Again, this is exact. And approximation by however many decimals they ask you. If so, how much shorter would the man's one-way trip be every day? So we're going to go 10 plus 5 on a regular basis. We're going to go 15 miles. But if we could go straight, it would be 11.18034 or square root of 125. So 15 minus that number is almost 3.8 miles. Again, please bear in mind, I'm just approximating it. I highly recommend you pay attention to the number of decimals they ask you. You want to solve this equation. This is a rational equation. 5 over x plus 1 plus 1 over x minus 3 equals negative 6 over x squared minus 2x minus 3. How do you solve a rational equation? The best course of action is to clear out all the denominators, which means you're going to factor every denominator. This one is fine. This one is fine. This needs to be factored. And I hope you remember you're dealing with ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is 1. So you want two numbers. The product is C. The sum is B. You want two numbers. And those would be 1 and negative 3. So you factor it in this fashion. Now, to clear out the denominators, we are going to multiply by LCD. It happened to be x plus 1 times x minus 3. But before we move on, we have to pay attention what should be excluded. If you look at the first one, x plus 1 equal to 0, x must be negative 1, making the denominator 0 excluded. X minus 3 equal to 0, x is 3, so x equals 3 must be excluded. So you write down x can't be those numbers. Why do you do that? At the end, if you happen to have a couple of solutions, one of them, let's say, is 3, you're going to exclude that because in the beginning, you want to make a note of it. So we are going to multiply by x plus 1, x minus 3. So if you multiply this one, just pay attention to this one. If you multiply this one, I hope you see that x plus 1 cancels out. You get 5 times x minus 3. If you multiply this two, x minus 3 cancels out, plus 1 times x plus 1. And if you multiply these two, obviously everything drops and you get negative 6 on the right. I hope everybody can easily handle that. So having said that, we have 5x minus 15 plus x plus 1 equals negative 6. Is to add up to 6x. Negative 14 moves, becomes positive 14. 6x equals 8. Divide both sides by 6x becomes 4/3. And you definitely check here. Normally, you should really plug in to check it out, but at the very least, check it here, and that's fine. That's the answer, and we are done. Lines, slopes, and its interpretation. So slope, m is defined as rise over run y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, or delta y over delta x. Okay, rise over run. Change in y over change in x. This is simply by definition, everybody. It is known as the average rate of change of y with respect to x. It's important to understand the average. Later on in calculus, we discuss instantaneous rate of change as well. So if we look at these lines, obviously this one has a positive slope. It's rising. This has a negative slope. It's falling. Any horizontal line has a slope that is 0. Any vertical line has a slope that is undefined. Reminding you of what we have learned in elementary algebra, intermediate algebra, college algebra. HL, short for horizontal line. If it has a y-intercept as 0b, has the equation y equals b with the slope 0. Any VL, vertical line, if it has an x-intercept at a0, has the equation x equals a, the slope is undefined. Various formats for the form, standard form x plus by c. In short, x and y are on the same side. If you solve for y, becomes slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. We also have point slope, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x of 1. These are the three formats we have learned. I hope everybody remembers. Two lines are considered parallel if they have equal slopes, different y-intercepts. Two lines are considered perpendicular if the relationship between their slope is such that one is the negative reciprocal of the other, or their product is negative one. That means the same thing, everybody. So that's the synopsis of what we need to know about lines to move on, everybody. That's what we are going to do. Okay. Answer for parts A and B, graph the following lines in a rectangular coordinate system and clearly show the intercept on the graph. X equals -2, that clearly gives us the x-intercept at -2, 0, so 2 to the left, right here, and you have a vertical line. Y equals 3 has a y-intercept at 0, 3, right here, and it is a horizontal line. Find an equation of a line containing the following two pairs, 4, 0, 4, 5. If you have two pairs, they have the same x coordinate. That means it's a vertical line with x being the same. In this case, x equals 4. Find the equation of a line containing these two pairs. On the other hand, if the 2 points have identical y coordinates, then you're dealing with a horizontal line, y equals -7. You really don't have to do much. Okay. Find the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that passes through these 2 points. Find the intercepts and graph. Generally speaking, when you want to graph a line, it's really a good idea to find intercepts. It gives you a better graph. So having said that, we're going to start with the slope. By definition, slope is rise over run. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So -6 minus 10 over 5 minus -3. These two add up to -16. 5 plus 3 is 8. Negative 16 over 8 is negative 2. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x of 1. That's what we use. Now, which pair are we using? Makes no difference. For example, if I use this one, y minus 10 equals negative 2x minus 3, which makes it plus 3. If I use this one, I want to show you that how it looks. It will be y minus 6, that means plus 6, equals m negative 2x minus 5. Please understand they don't look the same, but both of them you solve for y, they become identical. So we're going to solve for y, the second one. This is minus 2x minus 6 minus 10 moves becomes plus 10, or just add 10 to both sides. Y equals minus 2x plus 4. Now, we want to graph it. We can use the two pairs that are given, of course. But let us go with intercepts. First of all, let me erase my work. This is one of them, 0, comma 4. The other one is that I want to, 0, comma 4 is the y-intercept. I want to find the x-intercept. I set y equal to 0. And I hope you see that x equals 2. So we have 0, 4, and we have 2, 0, and we're going to connect them. And we can put the 2 points. One of them is 5 minus 6. The other one is minus 3. 1, 2, 3 to the left, 10 up. So it's outside the grid, but you get the picture. Now, we could always use the original ones, but I highly recommend you stick with the intercepts. They give you a better graph. Find the equation of a line that is perpendicular to 3y equals x minus 4 and passes through the point negative 2, comma 1. Find the intercepts and graph. And again, since you want to graph it, a good practice is to go with intercepts as always. All right. First and foremost, the line given, we can find its slope. How do we do that? We just solve for y. That means we're going to divide everything by the coefficient of y, which is 3. And clearly, slope for the given line, the slope is positive 1/3. If the question was, okay, find an equation of a line that was parallel to that, we would use the same slope. However, perpendicular, the reciprocal is 3 over 1. Negative reciprocal makes it negative 3. This is the slope we need. This is the point. And we are going to use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x of 1. That means y minus 1 equals m negative 3x minus negative 2 makes it x plus 2. Now, we are going to simplify in the following manner. Minus 3x minus 6, negative 1 on the left, moves to the right becomes positive, and we get y equals minus 3x minus y. So pretty straightforward. Now we are going to graph, and to do so, I want to graph the first line because I want to show both lines on the same set of axes. And that means we go here and we want to find two pairs. First of all, in this format, I hope you see 0, negative 4/3 is the y-intercept. Let me erase my word. And to find the x-intercept, it's easier to go with this one and set y equal to 0. 3 times 0 is 0 equals x minus 4. X becomes 4. So therefore, we have 0, negative 4/3, 4, 0 as the two pairs we need. Pretty straightforward, everybody. So 0, negative 4/3, 4, 0. Here's the line. So this is the original line. Now the new one. Obviously, everybody can see 0, negative 5 is the y-intercept. What about the x-intercept? If you set y equal to 0 and move it this way, you get 3x equals minus 5. X is negative 5/3. Therefore, negative 5/3 comma 0 is the x-intercept. So 0, negative 5, negative 5/3, 0. Remember, negative 5/3, that means negative 1 and 2/3. So it's between negative 1 and negative 2, of course, closer to negative 2. And connect them. And also show this pair on the graph. So it's pretty straightforward. I hope everybody's fine with that. A retired woman has $50,000 to invest, but needs to make $6,000 a year from the interest to meet certain living expenses. One bond investment pays 15% annual interest. The rest of it she wants to put in a CD that pays 7%. If we let X be the amount the woman invests in the 15% bond, how much will she be able to invest in the CD? Set up and solve the equation for how much the woman should invest in each option to sustain a $6,000 annual return. This is an example of a question known as a mixture problem. Believe it or not, it's just like a mixture problem. And to set this up, we just start with the percentage of the investment. Number one is 15%, number two, 7%. By the way, one might say, okay, why don't we put all of it at 15%? There may be some restrictions, okay, everybody? And so the amount goes in here, and the interest, it's the simple interest with the formula I equals PRT, where P is the amount of principal, the money, R is the rate. For example, here is 15%, here is 7%, 0.15, 0.07. T, when we say annual, T equals 1. Okay, T is whatever that they give you. So it's important to understand. So now, let's put in the given. X be the amount that we invest at 15%. So we're going to put the X here. 50,000 is the total amount that we have to invest. $6,000 is the total amount of interest we need. So let's put it in. Why is this a mixture problem? The entire amount, the total investment is fixed at 50,000. So if this is X, this is what? 50,000 minus X. And it's important to know it's 50,000 minus X, not the other way around. If you ever doubt yourself, add them up. If I add these two X and minus X cancel each other, I get 50,000. Okay. So if you put X minus 50,000, it's wrong. And if you doubt yourself, add them up. Okay. Now, what happens next? Well, I equals PRT. So for this one would be X times 15%, that means 0.15X, times T happened to be 1, so we don't have to worry about it. So this is 0.15X. This one is 0.07 times 50,000 minus X. And they do add up to give us the total we need, 6,000. That's the equation. So from this table, we get this equation. That's the idea. You have to set it up in a manner that it makes perfect sense. And when you go back to it, doesn't matter when you go back to it, 10 years from now, this makes a perfect sense when you look at the table. Now, it's just a matter of simplification. This is 0.15x. We're going to multiply these two. And I'm going to remind you how to multiply two numbers when we have decimals and one has a bunch of zeros. Ignore the decimal. Ignore the zeros first. So you have number 7 from here, number 5. The answer is 35. So far, so good. 0.7 has two decimals. 50,000, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Which one do we have more? Zeros. By how many? 4 minus 2, which is 2. So you add zeros. This is how you multiply. I hope everybody's clear on that. They should have taught you that just to make sure you can handle it. All right. So let me erase my work and write down what's going on here. So we have 0.15x plus 3,500 minus 0.07x. The right side remains unchanged. Now we're going to add these two. 0.15 minus 0.07 is 0.08x. This one, you are going to subtract it from 6,000, you get 2,500. You're going to divide by 0.08. And by the way, this is the same as changing it to 8 and 2,500. Let me use a different color. You add 2 zeros. Okay, that's just so reminding everyone what happens. And you get 31,250. So the amount that we invest at 15% is 31,250. If the total is 50,000, 50,000 minus that is $18,750 at 7%. Okay. So I hope everybody's clear. Later on, when we look at the same type of question, but systems of equations, then we can go with X and Y, where X and Y add up to 50,000, and we take it from there. Laura starts riding her bike at 20 miles per hour. After a while, she slows down to 12 miles per hour and maintains that speed for the rest of the trip. The whole trip of 70 miles takes 4.5 hours. For what distance did she travel at 20 miles per hour? This is a class of problem known as motion problem. Where D equals RT. D is the distance. R is the average speed. T is the time. So we have a table, and we're going to plug in what we have. So rate, time, distance, their product is distance. So when we start, the rate is 20 miles per hour. After a while, we go to a different speed or rate, 12 miles per hour. We maintain that for the rest of the trip. The whole trip, 70 miles. Distance, the entire distance, the total distance is 70 miles. And it takes total of 4.5 hours. This is how you fill up the table. And now D equals RT. So this one, what is the time here? We have no idea. How about X, Y, Z, T? What is the time here? If the total time is 4.5, this must be the rest of it. 4.5 minus T. Again, if you write T minus 4.5 is wrong, just add them up. It must add up to 4.5, and they don't if you put T minus 4.5. What do we cover here? 20 times T. What do we cover here? 12 times 4.5 minus T. And when we add them up, what do we cover? The total distance of 70 miles. Okay. So we're going to distribute 20T remains. 12 times 4.5 is 54 minus 12T. And these two, of course, give us 8T plus 54. Moves becomes negative 54. It's 16 divided by 8. T is 2 hours. Now, it is extremely important to check to make sure we have answered the question. So what do? It's very simple. We read to make sure it's been answered. For what distance did she travel at 20 miles per hour? So they're talking about distance. So we want 20T. If this is 2, by the way, this is 2, this is 2.5. Let me just write that this is 2. This is therefore 2.5. So this one is 20 times 2, 40 miles. So it's important to write it in a manner which is making perfect sense. All right. First, solve the formula for W. P equals 2L plus 2W. I hope you recognize this as the parameter of a rectangular shape, which is 2L plus 2W, or 2 times the parentheses L plus W. Then use your result to find the width W of a rectangle whose length is 15 and whose perimeter is 15. So if I want to solve for W, I'm going to move the 2L, so P minus 2L. P minus 2L plus 2W. Divide both sides by 2. Now, one thing I want to make a point of, it's important to know, because this common mistake happens, is that you can't get rid of the 2 from the top and the bottom because 2 is not in common. If you want to do that, this is how you write this. You write this as P over 2 minus 2L over 2, which is P over 2 minus L. That you can do. Now we're going to plug in, which means P is replaced with 58, L is replaced with 15. 30, 28 divided by 2 is 40. And of course, 14 is the width plus 15 is 29 times 2 is 58. So you just check it in no time. I hope everybody is fine with that. It doesn't take long to check things. That's again, that's the beauty of math. You can check your work, and I highly recommend you always do so when possible. Perform the indicated operation and express the result as a simplified complex number. A is -1 plus 2i times -2 plus 3i. So what is a complex number? Complex number is in the form of a plus bi. I by definition is square root of -1. Therefore, square root of -n is I squared of n. Please understand, when we want to do operations on complex numbers, if you have a radical with a negative inside, you have to get rid of it. And the negative changes to I outside. So we are going to distribute, and never mind, assume I is X and do the basic distribution that you know. In other words, -1 times -2 gives you +2. -1 times 3i gives you -3i. 2i times -2 gives you -4i. 2i times 3i is 6i squared. This is foiling. Now, what is 6i squared? Reminding everybody, I, by definition, is square root of -1. If you square it, becomes -1. Cube it, -i to the power of 4 is 1. So I want to elaborate on that. This is clear, I think. So is this one. I want to make sure this is understood. I cubed is I squared times I. And what is I squared? -1. So you get -i. What is I to the power of 4? It's I squared squared, which means -1 squared, which is 1. You really need to remember this. And what matters is there is no other power. Every other power just will come down to those. So I is square root of -1. I squared is -1. I cubed -i, and I to the power of 4 is 1. Okay? So it's very simple, everybody. Now, and I just sort of went over the proof, making sure that we are fine with that. Now, so having said that, what do we do? Let me erase my work, everybody. I squared is -1 plus 6 times -1 gives you -6. So now you simply add up the like terms, which means 2 and -6, they add up to -4. -3i and -4i. They add up to -7i. It's in the standard form a plus bi. If anybody asks you, what is a? -4. What is b? -7, and you're done. All right. If somebody says simplify, divide, put it in standard form of a complex number, they all mean the same thing. The methodology is to multiply by the complex conjugate of the denominator to get rid of the denominator. So reminding you, the conjugate for a minus b is a plus b. Their product is a squared minus b squared. The conjugate for a minus bi is a plus bi. So we're going to multiply and divide by 2 plus I. Why do we multiply and divide? Because you don't have a right to multiply by any number except 1, and this ratio is 1. When you do that, this becomes a squared minus b squared I squared, and therefore it's a squared plus b squared because I squared equals negative. So I'm going to erase my work. Multiplication of these two basically follows a squared plus b squared, so 2 squared plus 1 squared. Multiplication of these two follows FOIL. So 3 times 2, 6 plus 3i. 4i times 2 is 8i. Finally, 4i squared. When we do that, again, we notice I squared is negative 1. So plus 4i squared becomes minus 4. This is 4. This is 1, it's 5. Is to add up to 2. Is to add up to 11. Now, if you left it as that, it's okay. But why am I writing it in this format? Because if somebody asks, okay, what is A, what is B? Over here, I don't want anybody to be under the assumption A is 2, B is 11. No, it's 2 over 5, A, B is 11 over 5. So we want to make sure that we have the right answer. And I can't emphasize this enough. Square root of minus 9 is 3i. Square root of minus 4 is 4i. And when you want to do work on complex numbers, you want to make sure that they are in a format that is acceptable. So this is 12i. So we get 15i as the final answer. What about I to the power of minus 6? Let's look at that. According to negative exponential, a to the power of minus m is 1 over a to the power of m. Let me write that. A to the power of negative is 1 over a to the power of positive, whatever that variable may be, okay? So you do that. And I to the power of 6 is I to the power of 4 times I squared. This is 1, so it's I squared, which is negative 1, and the answer is negative 1 as the final answer. But what I want to really go over is to discuss this concept when things get a little bit more complicated. This is, I guess, easy to see, but what about something like that? Let me erase my work again. In general, if you have powers of I, it becomes one of those. What is the fastest and easiest way to handle it? You divide the exponent, 1225 in this case, by 4. It doesn't matter what the result is, the quotient is. What matters is what the remainder is. And I hope you remember a number is divisible by 4 if the last 2 digits is divisible by 4. 25, when you divide it by 4, you get 6 with the remainder 1. So the remainder is 1. So I to the power of 1 or I. So I hope everybody's clear on that. It's really not that big of a deal, okay? Just to make sure we understood that. What about I to the power of 43? I'm going to divide 43 by 4. Again, it doesn't matter what the answer is. I want the remainder. The remainder is 3. So I to the power of 43 is the same as I cubed. And we know I cubed is negative I. This is the fastest way. Sometimes they go with I squared, but this is a little bit faster, I believe. Square root property, the principle indicates if x squared equals a, where a is a real number, then x is plus minus square root of a. Example, x squared is 49, x is plus minus square root of 49, which is plus minus 7. Solving by completing the square. If we want to solve ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, a perfect square trinomial is a trinomial that can be expressed as the square of a binomial. For example, x squared minus 10x plus 25 is x minus 5 quantity squared. Note that in every perfect square trinomial, the constant term, this number, is the square of 1/2 of the coefficient of the x term, or b over 2a to the second power. Minus 10 divided by 2 minus 5 squared is 25. That's what we mean. So what is the process? We make sure we put it in this format. That means the constant moves and a becomes 1 by dividing by. Then we get b divided by 2 and squared, and we add it to both sides. Whatever the variable, in this case x, and you put b over 2, including the sign next to it, squared, and add that and solve by the square root property or principle. Reminding you of the quadratic formula, x squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, x is minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. B squared minus 4ac is called the discriminant because if b squared minus 4ac is positive, we have two real solutions or distinct. The solutions will be rational if the discriminant is a perfect square and irrational otherwise. If b squared minus 4ac is 0, we have one real solution. And if it's negative, we have no real solution or two complex solutions. And again, if b squared minus 4ac is a perfect square number, then ax squared plus bx plus c can be factored. And that is extremely important, everybody. Okay, so a lot of information here, as you can see. We want to solve by completing the square, so we're going to move the 7. We look at a is 1, we don't have to worry about it. So b is number 6. Divided by 2, 3, and squared, you get 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. This side is the variable, whatever it is, the variable is x. And b over 2, including the sign. That means x plus 3 quantity squared. And this side, you put them together. Now, the square root principle or property says x plus 3 is plus minus square root of 2. Move the 3, and x is negative 3 plus minus the square root of 2, and you're done. Very straightforward, everybody. Let's look at one more example, and we need to do two things. Number one, we have to move negative 4 becomes positive. Number two, the coefficient has to be 1 for us to work with it. So we're going to divide everything by coefficient of z squared. That means 2. So now we are in good shape. What is b? Negative 7/2. It doesn't matter that it is a fraction. The concept is identical. We want to divide by 2. When you divide a fraction by 2, you can multiply its denominator by 2. So negative 4, 7/4. To square that, we get positive 49 over 16. And now we're going to add 49 over 16 to both sides. Left side is the variable. The variable is z here. And b over 2 minus 7/4 quantity squared. The right side, just add them up. 2 times 16, 32 plus 49, 81. So 81 over 60. Very straightforward. The Square root principle, this comes out, and this plus minus square root of 81 over 16. As you know, this is plus minus 9 over 4. Move this, make it 7/4. So we either have 7 minus 9 over 4 or 7 plus 9 over 4. 7 minus 9, negative 2 over 4 is negative 1/2. 7 plus 9, 16 over 4 is 4. And those are the final answers.